Hello and welcome back. At the end of lesson 2, I gave you a warm-up exercise and the short song Strollin' to learn via tablature, and I promised that I would play it for you after you at least tried to figure it out on your own. The first set of notes is all written on the top line, which indicates that those notes are played on the first string, the A string. The numbers on the lines indicate fret numbers, and the numbers written below the lines indicate which fingers of the left hand will be playing those frets. And remember that the thumb of the right hand will be plucking the same string that the fingers of our left hand are currently pressing down on. Feel free to play along with me, or feel free to just watch and then try it again on your own. Here I go. Starting on string 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. And string 2. The next line, string 3. And the final line. All right, I'm sure you noticed that we just played the same thing 4 times in a row, the only difference being that we played it on each string individually. So nice job. I recommend this particular warm-up exercise whenever you pick up your instrument. It's a good way to work the fingers up and just kind of get you rolling. Tune your instrument, play the warm-up. All right, now let's play something a bit more musical. Take a look at the song Strollin' in your workbook. I'm going to set my metronome to 60 beats per minute. You can get a metronome app for your mobile device or your tablet, or you can buy a handheld separate metronome. Or you could just go online and do an internet metronome. Once again, my metronome is set to 60 beats per minute, and I'm playing the song Strollin'. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, how'd you do at the slow tempo? Don't worry if you're not able to keep up with me just yet. Like I said in lesson 1, the journey is the destination and you need to enjoy the process. If we're enjoying the process, we will get exactly where we need to get to at exactly the right time. Just make sure that you're practicing on as a consistent of a basis as you can. There are many different qualities or flavors of chords. We combine them to create all different sorts of emotions in music. In this course, we will learn a fair amount of major chords, minor chords, and dominant 7th chords. We're going to use chord diagrams to learn chords. Notice that this chord diagram consists of 4 vertical lines. Each one of these vertical lines represents a different string of your ukulele. The line on the left represents string number 4, the G string. Next to that is the 3rd string, or the C string, and to the right of that is the second string or the E string, and the line all the way to the right represents the first string, A. The lines going horizontally represent the frets of our ukulele. So, if I hold up my ukulele like this, it is exactly what you're looking at on the chord diagram. Numbers that are written on the vertical lines indicate left-hand finger numbers. Little O's written on top of the vertical lines indicate open strings. And little X's written on top of the vertical lines indicate strings that we do not include in a particular chord. Let's take a look at the C major chord. We'll start with string number 4 and work our way to string number 1. Take a look at the diagram. Notice that there is nothing written on the line associated with string 4. That means that we do not put any fingers of the left hand on it. Also notice that on top of that string, there is a little O. That O indicates that we will strum the 4th string as part of the C major chord, even though we do not have any fingers of the left hand pressing on any of the frets. Let's move on to the next string, string 3. Notice again that the line associated with the 3rd string, the C string, also has nothing written on it, indicating that we do not need to fret anything with the left hand. The 3rd string also has a small O written on top of it, which means we will strum it as part of the chord. Moving on to string number 2. The 2nd string, the E string, also has nothing written on it, indicating that we do not need the left hand for that string as well. String 2 also has a little O, which means we will strum it as part of the chord even though there is no left hand fingering associated with it. And finally, let's take a look at the line that's associated with string number 1. That's the line all the way on the right, the A string. We see a number 3 written on that line. The 3 indicates the 3rd finger of the left hand or the ring finger. How do we know which fret to put the 3rd finger on? Remember that when we're looking at a chord diagram, we're looking at a small picture of this part of your ukulele, your fretboard and strings. You'll see there's nothing on the space reserved for the 1st fret, nothing on the space reserved for the 2nd fret, but that little 3 we were talking about earlier is written on the space reserved for the 3rd fret. This 3 means the 3rd finger, and the picture tells us which fret to put it on. Make sure your 3rd finger is curved and pressing hard on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, using your thumb to squeeze together with your ring finger from behind the neck, like I'm doing. And strum all 4 strings at the same time with your right thumb, like that. How does yours sound? Go ahead and pluck each string like this, starting with string number 4, string number 3, string number 2, and finally string number 1. If any of your strings is sounding clunky, that's probably because one of 3 things is happening. First, you may be pressing on the fret itself rather than next to the fret like this. Remember, we do not press on the fret, we go next to it. Okay? If you find that you're pressing in the right place and your note is still clunky, you may not be pressing hard enough. If I don't press hard enough, it's going to be like this. Press harder. Okay? And then finally, if one of your open strings is clunky, such as this, that could be because your finger that's supposed to be on string 1 is interfering with string 2. That's why it needs to be really curved, so it's not touching any string other than the one that it's intended to be placed on. In this case, string 1, C chord, 3rd finger. So I'm going to take a look at my finger, make sure it's not on the fret, it's next to the fret. I'm going to make sure I'm pressing hard. I'm going to make sure my finger is curved. Then I'll try all 4 strings again individually. Beautiful. Now all together for a C chord. All right. Now that we know how to read a chord diagram, let's move on to the 2nd chord, A minor. Minor chords will tend to have a darker sound compared to major chords. There are plenty of songs that use only major chords and plenty of songs that use only minor chords, but it is definitely way more common for songs to use both major and minor chords together. You'll see that as we learn actual songs a little bit down the road. Let's take a look at the A minor chord and see if we can figure it out. Remember, you're going to want to start on the left vertical line, which is the 4th string, and work your way to the right vertical line, which is the 1st string. Again, starting with 4, working our way to 1. Notice that the A minor chord has a 2 written on the leftmost line, indicating that the 2nd finger or middle finger will be pressing down on the 4th string. We can look at the picture and determine that there is nothing on the space reserved for the 1st fret. The 2 is written on the space reserved for fret number 2, so we know that we're going to put finger 2, or the middle finger, on fret 2 of the 4th string. Remember to curve your finger and press hard. Once you have that, strum all of the strings together like this. Then try strumming each string individually, working your way from string 4 to string 1 like this. If any of those notes sound clunky, you'll either need to press harder, curve your finger more, or make sure your finger is not on top of a fret. Let's take a look at the F chord next. Notice on the diagram that there are 2 numbers written on 2 different lines, indicating that we're going to need 2 different fingers of the left hand at the same time. Also, you might notice that the number 2 is written in the exact same place that it was written for the A minor chord. The middle finger or 2nd finger is on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, just like an A minor chord. Then, moving on to the next string, notice that there are no numbers written on it, and there's a little O written on top. So the 3rd string is open, no fingers. Moving on to the next line, you'll see that there's a 1 written in the space reserved for fret number 1, and it's on the line of string 2. So we're going to have the A minor chord, and then we're going to add our index finger, finger 1, to the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Then when we look at the diagram, we'll notice that string number 1 also has a small O on top of it, indicating that it's an open string. So, to play an F major chord, we have 2 fingers in 2 different spots with the left hand, like this. I'm just moving my fingers out of the way so you can see clearly. If we're playing with proper technique, our fingers will be here at all times ready to go. I just want you to see clearly where my fingers are for the F chord. Once again, we started with an A minor, and we added our index finger to the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and we're going to strum all 4 strings at the same time for an F chord. Try that with me. 1, 2, F chord. Now let's take a look at the G chord and the G7. Notice that both of these chords will use 3 fingers at the same time on 3 different strings. The 1 string that has no fingers, the 4th string, has a little O on top of it, indicating that we will strum it as part of the chord. So both G7 and G chords will involve strumming all 4 strings with the right hand. Let's go ahead and try the G7 chord first. The middle finger is placed on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, like this. The index finger is on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. And the ring finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Once you have your fingers situated, make sure they're curved and you're pressing hard. Go ahead and strum all 4 strings. Let's take a look at the G major chord. The index finger will be on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. The middle finger will be on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And the ring finger will be on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, like this. The 4th string has a little O on top of it, so it is included in the chord, even though we don't have any fingers of the left hand pressing on it. Curve your fingers and press hard. Strum all 4 strings. How did that sound? Now we know 5 chords: C, A minor, F, G, and G7. Let's play through them each one time to review before we move on. First, C. With me? Very good. Now we'll move on to A minor. Middle finger on the second fret of the fourth string. Let's hear that. And then when we go from A minor to F, all we have to do is add our index finger, finger 1, to the first fret of the second string, and we're going to strum all 4 strings. F chord, here we go. Beautiful. And the G chord, we're going to have 3 fingers. Of course, we're pressing hard and making sure our fingers are curved always. That's a G chord. And finally, we're going to have G7. Press hard, make sure all your fingers are curved, strum all 4 strings at the same time. G7. With these 5 chords alone, you could potentially learn hundreds, if not thousands, of songs. When we string chords together in a sequence, it's called a chord progression. Many, many songs use the same chord progressions. In this course, I will be teaching you some of the most common chord progressions and songs to go with them. Take a look at example 1 and you'll see what a basic chord chart or chord progression might look like. The names of the chords will be written on top of each line. Arrows or slashes on the line will indicate how many strums we will do for each chord. The first chord in example 1 is a C chord. We're going to strum the chord 3 times and then rest for 1 count, like this. Put my fingers on the C chord. I have 3 slash marks and then a symbol that indicates a rest. So the first measure of example 1 is strum, 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 rest. The reason I put the rest there is so you have a second to switch to the next chord, which is A minor. The second measure of example 1 is the same as the first measure, except the left hand is going to be fretting an A minor chord instead of a C chord, and it goes like this. Strum, 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 rest. And then the second line, or third measure of example 1, has an F chord strummed 3 times with a rest. Strum, 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 rest, and then 2 G chords, and then 2 G7s, and we can end with a C. Let's string that together. Here's example number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Strum, 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 rest. A minor, A minor, A minor, rest. F, 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 rest. G, G, G7, G7. Let's repeat that. C. A minor, F, and G, G7, end with a C. Bring it back home. Now we know how to play 5 chords and we know how to read basic chord diagrams. I'd like to teach you the song When the Saints Go Marching In, but before I do that, we're actually going to add 1 additional chord, a C7 chord. It's quite easy. I would like you to put your index finger, or finger 1, on the first fret of the first string. Make sure it's curved, press hard, and strum all 4 strings. That's a C7. Okay, now let's take a look at the chord progression for When the Saints Go Marching In. For now, we're just going to focus on the chords. I did write the lyrics on the bottom of the sheet music in the workbook. Notice that each measure has 4 slashes, indicating that we're going to do 4 strums for each measure. And the chords we're going to need for this song are C, our new C7, G7, and F. I'll play it for you 1 time at a normal speed. You may want to work on the chords for a few days and then come back and try to play the song with me. It's okay if you can't do it right now, don't worry. Here it is at normal speed, starting with the C chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. All right, nice job. Don't worry if it wasn't perfect. You have to practice between lessons. That's kind of the whole point of this. I teach you something, you practice it, and then you come back a little better than last time. So great job. I'll see you next time.